The Legend of Grimrock has always been a very interesting game to me when it comes to recommending it to other people. What I've found is that people will either love it, or they will bounce off it harder than anything before. So chain yourself to 3 friends, jump in the pit, and let's find out whether you should play Legend of Grimrock. Released in 2011 and published and developed by Almost Human, Legend of Grimrock is a first-person dungeon crawler of the purest experience. You want story? I'm afraid you're not really going to get a whole lot here. The long and short of it is, you and your crew of mates have been found guilty of a crime, and you've been brought to Mount Grimrock in order to absolve those crimes. How's that going to happen? Well, you're going to get chucked in, and you're going to have to work your way through the dungeon. Along the way, you'll have a few prophetic dreams, and you'll find notes from a wanderer who almost made it out before you. But that's about it for story, I'm afraid. What you are going to find along the way, though, is plenty of combat, plenty of puzzles, and a lot of times when you're going to get frustrated and just think that this is just a bad time. But if you persevere, then maybe you'll reach the same conclusion I have, which is that Legend of Grimrock is not a masterpiece, but it is a wonderful game. So to start off, we hit new game and we're met with 2 choices. We can play with old school map mode, and we can make our own characters if we wish. I cannot play on old school map mode. I've really tried for the purpose of this review, but instead I made it through the first level and my map looked like this. Yeah, not great. Now with regards to creating your own party, I highly recommend that everybody does this. You can just play with a default setup and you will be able to get through the game entirely with that. I'm just not sure if that's the way that you should really play this game. You can almost treat this as a Dungeons & Dragons style dungeon crawler. If you're going to take part in one of those, you're going to want to customize your character, right? You're not just going to want to play some pre-built character. Well, this is your chance to play with 4 characters. So do it. At this point, I'm going to reveal that you can also import your own character portraits. So say hello to Nick Mage, Nick Rage, Nick Engage, and Peter Lowe. They are our squad for this review. When you create a character, you have to assign some stat points. You can assign them into Strength, Dexterity, Vitality, and Willpower. Strength is pretty self-explanatory. It's going to increase attack power and carry weight. Dexterity increases the accuracy of melee attacks and also increases your chance to dodge. Vitality increases your health on level up. And Willpower controls the amount of energy you get on level up. Each of the 3 classes, the Fighter, the Mage, and the Rogue, also have skills. As you level up, you'll get points that you can put into the skills, and as you can see, at certain breakpoints of skills, you get a little bonus. It's worth focusing mainly on one skill, and then peppering some points in here and there as needed. So you've made your boys, you've decided whether you're going to try and make your own map, you've decided the difficulty, let's go. Now the first thing you'll notice about Legend of Grimrock is that it is on a grid. You move north, south, east or west, and you can turn as appropriate. For a lot of people, this is the first jumping off point. This feels like an antiquated mechanic, but by the end of the game, you're going to be intimately familiar with this, and it's going to actually feel real good. You can also hold right click to move the camera around in the direction that you're facing. This isn't really useful, but it's nice that it's there. Interacting with the game world is as simple as clicking on something. If you see a chain or a switch or a torch on the wall, click on it. It'll interact. The chain will be pulled, the switch will be flipped, and the torch will be stolen. Steal all the torches. All of them. You will thank me for this. One thing that Grimrock has a lot of is secrets. There is even a secret in the first room that you're in. It's not the most difficult secret to solve. There is a little button on the wall. Click a little button, door opens. The secrets later on in the game are going to be a lot more complex. They're going to involve more than just, oh, I've found something on a wall. But it is a nice little introduction to say that there are going to be things that are not necessarily off the beaten path, but they are there. Now, as you can see in the bottom right of the screen, we have our beautiful squad, and we also have 8 hands. One of the sets of hands is glowing. I will address that in a moment. The way this game works is that you have to actually put things into the hands of your characters, and then when you want to use them, you've got to right-click them in those hands. This is another jumping off point for people, I think, because it's not the most intuitive of system, and if we right-click on one of the blue glowing hands, we get access to the runes of the mage. Spells in this game are governed by combinations of runes. If you only have the top left rune selected, you will shoot a fire burst, provided you have the skill level. Mages obviously have access to different types of magic, and as you go up in those skills, you will be able to cast higher levels of, say, fire magic. Most of these skills you will learn from scrolls, but you don't need the scrolls in order to cast the spell. So if you're playing with prior knowledge, or if you want to play with a wiki open, which honestly I can kind of suggest just for the spells, then you're going to be able to cast things as soon as you unlock them in your skill tree. Now let's talk about combat. For the most part, enemies are only going to attack in front of them, and you can only attack in front of you. And unless you're playing on the easiest difficulty, which, you know, no shame here, it is far better to play and enjoy a game than suffer, because that's what people expect you to do, then you also can't really just stay still when facing an enemy. Then what's going to happen is you're going to discover what I like to call the Grimrock box step. You're going to go up to an enemy, you're going to hit it with a couple of your characters, you're going to slide yourself over to either the left or the right, you're going to move, you're going to turn, you're going to hit them with a couple of your characters, and then you're going to slide. And when you get it right, you get this fantastic rhythm feel to it. Now, a couple of warnings. There are spiders in this game. I know not everybody likes spiders. However, there is a mod that will remove spiders. There are a couple of changes of scenery as you get further and further down at the dungeon, but for the most part, you are just going to be looking at a dungeon. So there's not going to be a huge amount of variety in how things look. You also want to be super observant for anything that an enemy drops. Some enemies will drop keys that are required to progress. If you miss that key, you will have to go and comb through the level until you find the key. So just pay attention. So, should you play a Legend of Grimrock? Yes, with the caveat that you have to be willing to give it a little bit of time to warm up. For me, it was a brilliant game. It made me feel smart when I solved puzzles. It made me jump a lot when the spiders were about. I'm not scared of spiders, it's almost like a jump scare, so if you are worried about spiders, definitely go and get that mod that removes them. But on a whole, I really do think that it's a game that's worth checking out. There is a sequel, Legend of Grimrock 2, that exists. If you really enjoy Legend of Grimrock, then Legend of Grimrock 2 will probably be right up your street. But if this is your first entry into either the Grimrock franchise or your first-person dungeon crawler, definitely stick with Legend of Grimrock. It's a much more streamlined and guided experience. And, well, that's it. It's a little bit of a shorter video this time around because there are things that you need to discover for yourself. I didn't want to give any of the puzzles away to take that satisfaction away from you as a player. If you have enjoyed, please make sure to like and subscribe. Feel free to comment down below if there's anything that you'd like to see me cover, and I'll see you in the next one.